presentation. So we're just going to dive right into it. Obviously, I basically just kind of threw something together for demonstration purposes. So very, not a very complex project here, but as we can see, we have two components rendered on the screen. This is supposed to be sort of an Amazon mock-up. So we have a book, you have the image generated from a URL, the title of the book, and the author's name here. So what we're going to be covering partially today is just a little bit of props and how we can, and one way we can destructure the props, and in addition to that, trying to cover some event handlers and how to specifically use them within the JSX code of our React. So we're going to go ahead and start right here with our main index.js file. Yeah.
If you bump the font up just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Or a lot of it.
Command-Shift+ will do it.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Thank you. Is that good?
Maybe one more. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
No,
Yeah.
awesome.
It's not just you.
Okay, good. I see that go.
I got 20 and I'm struggling. So
Hopefully that's,
you've got a typo in there. You got author.
where is it?
First component, author instead of author.
Oh,
Line 28.
oh, thank you.
First one.
The first is author.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that's how you spell it. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, that's probably why it wasn't rendering that.
Oh, broke it. Sorry.
Good typo is an error. It was stable.
Go for it. Still.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. You actually fixed that bug. Appreciate that. And besides the typo, just upon looking on this, you can probably notice one of the issues that we have here is the fact that we're taking a more static approach to rendering this data up here, right? We have three objects, each with an image, title, and author data key value pair. And for our intents and purposes, it's not necessarily the worst thing because we don't have a ton of data. But if our website had, let's say like Amazon, where we have thousands of books that we want to present, and it's just a random number per se, or from 2 to thousands per se. So if we take this static approach, we would have to write the book tag for each one of those books that we want to present. Obviously, that's a very poor way of doing things. So instead, we're going to just refactor this quick and put it in more of a dynamic rendering process. So I'm going to also comment out these three objects. Basically, I put this data, these three objects within a single array in my books.js file here. So we're importing that up here. And so we're going to use the books array to essentially iterate through the random number, in this case it's 3, but whatever number that would be, we want to be able to iterate through that dynamically. So there's a lot of different ways to do that, but what I want to do is use the map function. We'll put our book, a little argument there, and then we're going to render to the DOM here. We're going to return that same book tag that we used before, but we only have to put it once in this case. So we're going to use the keyword and render. I guess we want to index through each individual one. So we'll put our index up here so we can have that integer that's going to increase sequentially as we iterate through using the map function, iterate through that array of objects. So let's do that. And then because in this book.js component we're using props, I'm going to destructure it. And so in order to more easily do that, I'm going to use the spread operator. so that basically all of the data that comes from the books.js array, we can spread that out through the destructured values of props, which I'll show you in just a minute. So we use book for that. So we get all the components, key value pairs within the book. As book is an individual object within the array, we want all the values within an object. So we'll go ahead and close the tag here. So now we have books. We've rendered it once, and no matter how many items are in our object, no matter how many books in this case are in our code base, it will render them all as we can see here. So we have all 3 of them now rendered with image, title, and author. As we move over to the books.js, one way that we can, as I mentioned with that spread operator, destructure this props here is, as we see, we're calling props here as a parameter, and we have to basically prefix each of the items within our object by using props. But we can destructure that by using the shortcut where we essentially create this objects of sorts as the variable name with each of the name values. So we will put image, title, and author within this and just equate that to props. So in this way, we're destructuring so that we don't have to use props every time we run an instance of that object. So I'll just delete that. That should work just the same. So just a little bit of a, if you will, that's better practice or just an easier way to do that. So anyways, I hope that, made a little bit of sense. I'm going to move on to event handlers now and how we can use those in the JSX. So to showcase this, I'm going to just go ahead and create a simple button tag. Button. And then within that, we're going to, we want something where, in this case, if something is clicked, we want a function to run. So we're going to do the onClick function in this case. And we're going to be able to pass in a value or a function within there. So we'll close the tab. I'll put some reference text just to have something to click on. The DOM. And it's obviously throwing an error because we don't have any sort of data within the onClick method. So what we need to do is, in this case, we want to run a function that we've created outside of the tag and then run it within the tag. So, obviously we can create that function virtually anywhere in a separate file or different things. In this case, since it's sort of a small thing, I'm just going to keep it right here in the book component here. So we're going to do, I'm going to call it click handler. Click handler, and we're just going to do something simple, right? Like when we pass this click handler function into our onClick method, we can obviously put anything within here, within this method that we want to have run. In this case, for demonstration purposes, we're just going to put an alert. Full string. Value, and then we pass that value in right there. So now, as we come into the DOM here, we see this button that we've created, and upon clicking that, right, when the user clicks any of the buttons in these components, obviously same button in each component, we see this this alert with the same string value that we passed in there. So kind of a cool use there. But so that's if we have a function that doesn't have an argument or a parameter, right? This is empty here. What about what if we want to pass in a function that does have a parameter, right? And so it's mostly the same, but there is some slight differences that we'll kind of go over just here in a minute. So I'm going to create another function. And within there, we're just going to do console log this time. Again, you can put any sort of code you need to in here that you need to have run when a certain user clicks on the button. But and in this case, instead of passing in the static string, we're just going to pass in a dynamic value of, let's say, structured prop 0, the author. So in this case, when we click this certain button that runs this method, we should see in the console log the author's name for that specific component. So just to create another button here. Now, the tricky thing here is what I think we would want to do is just simply do it the same way we did on line 18 here, of just calling the function, putting in an argument value. In this case, it could be author, but this can sometimes cause issues. At least it has for me in the past, where it will it'll run the onClick function before it's actually clicked. Oh, let me
Convert to a function, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
that's
have
what
a
you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. So you just, in this case, inline function, and then it doesn't run the onClick before you actually click it. So if we come into here, let's clean this up a little bit.
So I think the reason for that is that whatever is inside of the onClick is actually an expression that gets evaluated or interpreted. And so you have to convert into a function. Then it says, okay, this is a function. But if you just call the function, then that's what ends up getting dealt with by the interpreter.
Exactly. So exactly, thank you for that. So yeah, exactly like you said, that's the importance of making sure we call the function there. So we have, in this case, the author array, which becomes our argument of A. So we should see that author name be rendered when we click the button in any of these components. So that up. And sure enough, we can see, sorry, it's a little bit small, but you can see the author's name kind of show up down here within the console for each one of those. And so one other popular event listener that's used is what if the user hovers over something, right? Hovers over some element in the DOM or certain things like that. Of course, we can use the on mouse over method in this case. And then let's see. In that, instead of creating a separate function outside of the return statement, we can just go ahead and write an inline statement right here. And let's say, something simple. We can just console log again. Let's say we want to do the title this time. So that should work. So now, since this is in the article, anytime my mouse enters any of this white space or any of the component area that we have here, it's a little bit bigger. Does anyone know how to increase the size of the console here?
Command plus or
Oh, same thing?
I think so.
Awesome. Thank you. So if anytime my mouse cursor hovers, passes through any of these, it will return the specific title through the destructured props of that article. And we can go through and it keeps a tally for us. So anyways, yeah. So that's just something simple I learned recently about destructuring props and about using event handlers. So thank you guys very much. Any questions before we turn the timer to Blake? Again, I'm not an expert, so I'm
I guess
doing my best.
if you really want to get, just concise with this, you can actually copy that const and then image title author and then just replace props inside of the function signature if you really want to.
Oh, so on line 4 right here?
It's a totally unnecessary optimization. Yes, but it's just that object that you created that's destructuring. Actually just copy and paste that and stick it inside of where you have props inside of the function signature. And
Oh, yeah.
that way you just get rid of
Yeah,
props.
that's true. So you can just pick this out there, put it in
Like I said,
right there.
entirely unnecessary, but
Well, I mean, it does save a line of code, so